Good day, everyone. Yeah. Hi, my name is Waseem, and I'd like to talk about Azure App Services. So yeah, let's get right into it. Um, so Azure App Services is one of Microsoft's platform as a service offerings. Basically, what that is Microsoft would handle the infrastructure for your application, and you can just focus on the application and the data itself. Um, So I think what's best to show what Azure App Services is all about is to actually do a demonstration. So yeah, let's get into that. I'm going to use Visual Studio and the Azure portal. Cool. Um, so firstly, Azure portal, right? First thing we need to do is create a resource. And we can see that Azure Web App is one of the popular services. So we can go ahead and create one there. Yeah, it just takes a second. Okay, cool. Yeah, firstly, you need a subscription, a Microsoft subscription to handle payments of the resources that you create. And I do have one provided for me. So that's the subscription. Then we move over to the resource group. So your resource group is basically a folder for you to store all the resources that you create. We can go ahead and create a new resource, but I've already created many when playing around with the app services. The next thing you need to do is then give your website a unique name across Azure. So I'm going to give it Tech Talk WA, and yes, okay, it's fine. It is unique. We can continue. Then you need to specify what are you publishing to your web app? Is it code? Is it a Docker container? Or is it just a static web app with your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? In this case, I'm going to choose code because I'm going to have a ASP.NET web app that I'm going to deploy. And then, yeah, I'm going to choose my runtime stack being .NET, obviously on Windows, and region we can specify being South Africa. I don't know if that's the best choice. I still need to look into that. Right, one of the important things is app service plan. So your web app needs an app service plan for you to host your website in. And that also is where your pricing comes into play. So yeah, we need to create app service plan for our web app to run in. I'm just going to call it Tech Talk. And yeah, then where the pricing comes in is basically what resources you want from Azure or from Microsoft. And there's quite a few options. There's some free options with limited features and a hardware that's provided by Microsoft. Then there's the more standard tiers and premium tiers, and you got your isolated tiers where basically the infrastructure is dedicated to your web application. For this case, I'm gonna choose the standard tier, and it comes with quite a few features, such as custom domains, auto scaling, staging slots, etc. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and apply those changes, and we can just move through the rest of the tabs. Also, there's zone redundancy that's available for some of the tiers that just helps protect against disasters so that your web app continuously runs. You can also configure continuous deployment in the deployment tab, and yeah, then the networking tab is where you configure traffic to and from your website if you'd like to. Monitoring lets you enable any insights that you can use for diagnosing any issues that your application might have. And tags is more like metadata for your application. And yeah, the final tab before we create it is the review and create. That basically gives you a summary of the options that you chose when configuring your web app. And yeah, we can go ahead if we're happy and click on create. So yeah, that might take a minute or two. While that's finishing, I'm gonna go ahead and create a basic template ASP.NET web app. So I'm gonna create a new project, basic ASP.NET template, um, calling it Tech Talk. And yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, just to change some things on this template web app, I can go into the index page and maybe just say welcome to my first web app, if I could spell correctly. Okay, cool. I can save those changes. We can go ahead and see if our deployment's complete. And I think it just completed. Yes, cool. So then we can go to our resources and we'll have a web app that's already deployed, but obviously not with the code that I want it to have. So if we go to the URL of the web app that we created, there's just Microsoft template stuff. So now we can go back to VS Code and Visual Studio and publish our web app that we want to publish. And that's quite simple. We just need to go to build, publish the web app that we just created. And we need to choose where we want to publish that to. We want to publish it to Azure, and which app service plan basically that's going to be used to host our web app. And yeah, okay, also you need to sign into your Microsoft account. I thought I was signed in. Let's just check. Okay, yes. So I did pick up that I created a web app on the Azure portal, and I can now select that and deploy to it. That might just take a minute or two. Just need to move this. And yeah, just need to click on publish, and in a minute or less, we'll have my web app, my first web app up. Okay, cool. It will automatically open, but I'm just gonna go ahead and open it myself. And but slow. Okay, there we go. We got our first web app hosted on Azure. And yeah, just some cool features that I also came across is things like deployment slots. So by default, there's just a production deployment slot. So whatever you deploy goes to production. But you can, oh, there was the automatic opening. So cool. So yeah, back at deployment slots. So the default one is production. You can create more slots, such as maybe your staging slot, if you want to test some data before or test your application before releasing it to production. And also the cool thing is if you're happy with what's in staging and you want that to be now your production and basically branch, you can use a swap feature that would change your staging to be production and your production would be staging basically. Yeah, that's one of the cool features I like. Then there's custom domains, some SSL settings that you can configure. Also scaling up. So if you, for some reason, need more resources from Microsoft and you need to upgrade your app service plan, you can go ahead and just choose what plan you'd like to upgrade to. And the cool thing is that it doesn't disrupt your web application. So traffic would just be directed from your old app service plan to your new one. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then there's just scaling depending on traffic to your website. So you can manually scale how many instances you want to increase by. Obviously, that's limited to the tier that you are on. And there's also auto scaling, where you can define some metric that you want your application to scale by. And yeah, that's my brief overview of Azure App Service. And yeah, thank you.